Assalamualaikum bacho. Welcome back. So in the last lecture, we talked about the types of numbers and BODMAS. याद है ना आपको? BODMAS क्या था और types of numbers हमने क्या पढ़े थे, right? So now let's move. We'll move to comparing and ordering numbers, right? Ordering का क्या मतलब होता है? Ordering simply means deciding which number is bigger, which number is smaller, right? And where do these numbers belong in relation to one another? We उसके लिए हम symbols use करते हैं, greater than का, less than का, and not equal to, right? Uh, you'll sometimes hear students say they can't remember which way the greater than sign points, right? मुझसे भी कहते हैं कि भाई हम भूल जाते, कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं कि ग्रेटर वाला किधर है, पॉइंट किधर कर रहा है, राइट? सो ये सिंपल आइडिया है. ओपन साइड जो होती है ना उसकी, वो लार्जर नंबर को कर रही होती है, ठीक है ना? तो अगर फर्स्ट करो लिखा है 12 is greater than 10, the wider opening points towards 12, right? ओके, एक फेमिलियर एग्जांपल देखते हैं ना. सपोज एक आप किसी का मोबाइल पैकेज लेने के लिए जा रहे हो, जैज, योर फोन, एनीबडी, पीटी सेल, राइट? एंड सपोज you know one of them is giving you 10 gigabytes, right? Another one is gives you 12 gigabytes. Same price, which is larger? Of course, the 12 gigabytes, right? तो आप क्या किसको किस तरह लिखोगे? 12 is greater than 10, right? इजी है ना? लेकिन एग्जाम में बच्चे जो ना अक्सर कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, क्योंकि वहां पे सिर्फ और सिर्फ होल नंबर नहीं बल्कि वो फ्रैक्शंस को भी पूछ सकते हैं, राइट? तो डेसिमल्स का भी पूछ सकते हैं, नेगेटिव नंबर्स, परसेंटेजेस, और अ मिक्सचर. फॉर दैट यू नीड अ स्ट्रेटजी. Suppose I ask you to compare 3/4 and 0.8. Which one is bigger? Don't guess, right? Don't guess. Convert them into the same form. 3/4 is 0.75, right? So we are comparing 0.75 and 0.8. So now it's obvious. 0.8 is larger. Or perhaps keep everything as fractions, right? Whatever makes sense. Whatever makes the comparison easier for you, right? The rule is put numbers into the same language. If I'm comparing decimals and fractions, I'll have to convert one of them, right? If I'm comparing fractions with different denominators, I may use a common denominator. Okay? Now let's look at the negative numbers. Which is larger, -2 or -7? So बहुत से बच्चे पता है क्या, वो immediately कहते हैं कि -7 जो बड़ा bigger है. But picture the number in line, okay? -2 is closer to the center, right? And -7 is farther out. So -2 is greater than -7. Think about temperature, right? Would you rather be standing outside at -2 degrees or -7 degrees? -2 is warmer, right? It's the greater number. So when ordering negative numbers, be careful. The number with larger absolute value can actually be the smaller number. -10 is less than -3, right? Again, this is why number sense matters, right? You shouldn't just be manipulating symbols. You should have a feeling for where numbers live. All right, now let's look at prime factorization, right? Prime factorization क्या होती है ना? I like to think of prime factors as the DNA of a number. You take a number with one prime number. Let's take 36, for example. We can build a factor 3, right? We start with any two factors. Maybe 2 times 18 is 36, right? 2 is already prime, so you're done with that branch. Now break down 18, right? 2 times 9, again, 2 is prime. Now break 9, right? So 3 times 3, both primes. So we've reached the bottom. Now list all the primes. 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. We can write that more neatly as 2 squared times 3 squared. Right? Are you with me? समझ में आई बात? That's the prime factorization of 36. Alright, लेकिन ये एक important point है जो आप समझिएगा, ठीक है ना? You could have started with 4 times 9, then broken 4 into 2 times 2, and 9 into 3 times 3. You still end up with 2 squared times 3 squared. That's the beauty of prime factorization. You can take different routes, but the prime building blocks are the same. Now, why do you care? यानी हमें इससे क्यों इसका मतलब पता चलना चाहिए? Because factorization helps us solve problems involving highest common factor, lowest common multiple, or HCF and LCM, right? Let's make HCF simple, right? Suppose I have two numbers, 12 and 18. Let's prime factorize them, right? 12 is 2 squared times 3, right? 2 squared times 3. समझ में आ रही है ना बात आपको? 18 is 2 squared times 3 squared, right? For HCF, we want the factors they share. Both have a 2, both have a 3, right? So HCF is 2 times 3, which is 6. And yes, 6 is the largest number that divides exactly into both 12 and 18. Did that make sense? If not, then pause the video, go back and listen to it again, okay? Now let's move on to LCM, right? LCM में जो है ना कुछ और पूछ रहा है आपसे. What is the smallest multiple that both numbers eventually reach, right? Let's use a real world example, okay? Imagine two buses leave a terminal at the same time. Bus A leaves every 40 minutes. Bus B leaves every 15 minutes, okay? They both leave at 10 in the morning. When will they next leave together? Right. अब इसको कैसे solve करोगे आप? We are looking for the smallest number of minutes that is a multiple of both 40 and 15. That is the LCM. Okay. So इसको calculate करते हैं. Prime 40 को पहले आप factorize करो. For prime factorization of 40 will be 2 cubed times 5, right? And prime factorization of 15 would be 3 times 5, right? So for the LCM, we need enough prime factors to build both numbers. So we take 2 cubed times 3 times 5, right? That's what? 8 times 3 times 5. तो क्या हो गया? 24 times 5, 120, right? So 120 minutes. So that's 2 hours. If both buses leave together at 10, they next leave together at noon, at 12. This is a very typical example of how something that looks like a number theory question becomes a practical scheduling problem. And that is something I want you to start noticing in O-level maths. The exam may not tell you find the LCM. It might give you buses, lights flashing, machines operating, events is repeating. And your job is to recognize, this is an LCM problem. That recognition is what separates learning a technique from actually being able to use it. Let's do a quick review, right, before we finish. Let's see if you remember everything. Natural numbers, counting numbers is starting from 1, right? Integers, positive and negative whole numbers, including 0. ठीक है ना? Prime number, exactly 2 positive factors, right? 1 and itself. Is 1 prime? No. Only even prime number. Only even prime number is 2, right? Okay. Relational number क्या होते हैं? Can be written as a fraction, right? Irrational cannot be expressed as a ratio of integers and as a decimal expansion, right? जो कि continue हो सकता है without a pattern, right? Okay. BODMAS क्या होता है? याद है? brackets, orders, division and multiplication, addition and subtraction. And remember, division and multiplication are equally important, are equal priority, right? Addition and subtraction are equal priority. So, and you're always working left to right when they appear at the same level. अच्छा जी, और क्या था? When comparing fractions and decimals, आपको क्या करना है? Put them into the same form. Prime factorization, right? Break the number down until every factor is prime. Okay. ये सारी बातें याद थी? Excellent. Now here is what I want you to do after this lesson. Don't just watch the video and think, yes, I understood everything, right? That feels good. But it doesn't tell me whether you can actually do the math. Take 5 numbers, let's say 24, 36, 45, 60, and 72, and prime factorize each one. Then choose any 2 and find their HCF and LCM, right? Next, create 5 BODMAS questions for yourself. Actually write them down, right? Then solve them without a calculator, okay? And finally, take a few fractions and decimals, and always remember your calculator normally is, right? क्योंकि paper 1 में आपके पास calculator होता ही नहीं है. So we need to build fluency from day one. And that's really what this first session is about. Not difficult mathematics, but strong foundations. Because if your number skills are strong, algebra gets easier. Percentages get easier. Ratio gets easier. Probability gets easier. Almost everything becomes easier. So don't rush past the basic. Master it, right? We'll build on them in the next lesson, right? भूलना नहीं ये सारी बातें और practice करना. Don't just watch and practice, right? I'll see you in the next session, inshallah.